Hi everybody, welcome to the RxJS workshop. In today's technical question video, we are going to answer a question regarding the share and share replay operators. Namely, how are the share and share replay operators similar and how are they different? So first we'll discuss the answer to the question and then we'll have a little coding example to help demonstrate the answer. Both the share and share replay operators create a duplicate of the source observable. And that duplicate observable is shared amongst all of the subscribers. And this is called multicasting. The benefit of multicasting is that you have a single execution of the observables pipeline, which is run only once for multiple subscribers. The share operator has what's called a reset capability. When the number of subscribers reaches 0 or the source observable completes or errors, the shared observable resets. Then when a new subscriber is created, a new shared execution of the source observable begins. The share replay operator buffers or caches all or a prescribed number of previously emitted values, and for late subscribers it replays those previously emitted values. Along with its replaying capability, the share replay operator can also be configured to exhibit some of the share operator's reset capabilities. To demonstrate what the share and share replay operators do, I'm going to use a coding example that's on the share replay page of the official RxJS documentation. And this is the coding example that I'll use. I'm going to make a few changes to this code and first show you how an observable with multiple subscribers, both early subscribers and late subscribers, how that observable behaves by default. So first I'll remove all of these comments as well as the share replay operator from the observables pipeline, and I'll add a tap operator to the pipeline so that we can see when this observables pipeline is being executed. And I'll also save these subscriptions in variables. I'll call this subscription sub A and this subscription, of course, sub B. And this subscription sub C. And I'll just change this console log so that it logs out a string instead of the actual observable. And I'll add the words is executing. Now, looking in the console, this is what occurs when the observable that's being subscribed to by multiple subscribers, this is how it behaves by default with no multicasting operators. Notice what's been logged for each subscriber. Each subscriber has its own separate execution of the source observables pipeline. So notice what we get. We get that shared observable is executing line being logged for each subscriber. We see it for subscriber A, subscriber B, and subscriber C. Now let's see what happens when we add a multicasting operator. And let's first add the share operator. Now we see that the pipeline execution is being shared amongst the multiple subscribers. We see only one logging of the shared observable is executing line. We see that being shared first by sub A and sub B, And when sub C subscribes 11 seconds after the execution of the observable begins, then it too shares the pipeline execution. And to further demonstrate this sharing of the observable, I'll add another subscriber, sub D, and let's change this to D, and notice what we get. So subs A and B share the pipeline execution, and then when subs C and D subscribe 11 seconds later, we see that they both share that single pipeline execution. So now that we've seen the share operator's multicasting capability, let's take a look at its resetting capability. And again, the share operator will reset its source observable's execution when either the number of subscribers goes down to 0 or the observable completes or errors. Now, the thing to note about the interval operator, which is our source observable, the interval operator creates an infinite observable, meaning that observable emits forever. However, when we add the take operator to an interval operator's pipeline, the take operator causes the interval operator to complete. So what this take operator is doing is, after the interval operator emits 6 emissions, the take operator forces the interval operator to complete, which means that this observable, this shared observable, will complete after 12 seconds. So if that's the case, let's now add 2 new subscribers, E and F, which subscribe 13 seconds after the shared observable begins emitting. Now we see the share operator's resetting capability. If we scroll back a bit to where the E and F subscribers subscribe, we see that the shared observables pipeline has been reset. Now that shows you how the share operator resets upon the observable completing. I also want to show you what occurs when the number of subscribers goes down to 0. So I'll make a few changes. I'll first comment out the take operator, and I'll add this line of code which unsubscribes to A and B on the 11th second, and I'll change the creation of sub C and D to 12 seconds. Now let's see what occurs. It's at this point in the console logging that we see how the share operator resets its observable when the number of subscribers reaches 0. When the value 4 has been emitted from the shared observable, that's around the 10th second. And on the 11th second, sub A and sub B unsubscribe. And it's on the 12th and 13th seconds that subs C, D, E, and F all subscribe. So those 4 subscribers subscribe after the number of subscribers has gone down to 0, which is at the 11th second. So what do we see? We see that the pipeline resets, and we see the emissions starting at 0 once again for the late subscribers, for subscribers C, D, E, and F. So this shows us how the share operator resets its shared observable on both completion of the observable as well as when the number of subscribers reaches 0. Now let's take a look at how the shareReplay operator works. I've made a few changes to the code. I've uncommented the take operator. I've commented out the share operator, and I've also commented out the unsubscribes to subs A and B. Now, taking a look at the shareReplay operator, I've passed in a parameter of 3. And what that does is it replays the last 3 emitted values before the late subscribers subscribe. Now, taking a look at the console log, we see that the shareReplay, like the share operator, is multicasting. So we see the one logging of the line shared observable is executing. We see that one line being logged out for multiple subscribers, first with subs A and B. But notice what happens when subs C, D, E, and F subscribe. And again, these subscriptions take place on the 12th and 13th seconds. Notice what each of those late subscribers receives. They each receive the last 3 emitted values. That is 5, 4, and 3. Those are the last 3 emitted values from the shared observable. And this is how the shareReplay operator works when it's configured to replay previous values. That is when a number is passed in as a parameter. And the thing to note is if we hadn't passed any parameter at all, the shareReplay operator would play all of the previously emitted values to the late subscribers. That is, subs C, D, E, and F would have all received 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 upon subscribing. So now you've seen the shareReplay operator's multicasting capability as well as its replaying capability. But shareReplay also has another capability, and that is to behave somewhat like the share operator. Specifically, the shareReplay operator has a configuration that allows it to reset the shared observable when the number of subscribers has reached 0. So to demonstrate this, I'll make a couple of changes to the existing code. The new configuration that we need for the shareReplay to demonstrate its resetting capability is we need to pass it what's called a shareReplay config object. And that object has a required parameter, and that parameter is ref count. And when we set ref count to true, shareReplay will exhibit the resetting capability. And I'll also set the optional parameter buffer size to 3. Now, to have the shareReplay operator exhibit its resetting capability, we also need to have the number of subscribers reach 0. So I'll uncomment these unsubscriptions to subs A and B. And for subs E and F, I'll have these subscribe 22 seconds after the shared observable begins emitting. Now, if we scroll back a bit in the console, we see that after subs A and B have unsubscribed on the 11th second, that is after both of those subscribers receives the number 4, when A and B unsubscribe, the subscriber count reaches 0. So when subs C and D subscribe, the shared observable gets reset and we see the value 0 being emitted. So the interval operator has been reset back to emitting from the number 0. And then, of course, subs C and D are sharing the observable. So we see only one instance of the shared observable is executing line. We see only one instance of that being emitted. So C and D are sharing the observable. And then after 22 seconds, subs E and F subscribe. And what happens with subscribers E and F is they immediately receive the last 3 emitted values. That is 3, 2, and 1. And that's because we set the buffer size property to be 3. They each receive those last 3 emitted values. And then after receiving those values, they share the observable with subs C and D. So we see one instance of the shared observable is executing line being emitted for both subs C, D, E, and F when the numbers 4 and 5 are emitted. So again, the shareReplay is multicasting. And with that, we see all of the properties and capabilities of the shareReplay operator. We see that it multicasts. We see that we can use one configuration to have it replay previous values to late subscribers. And we have yet another configuration which allows it to reset its observable upon the number of subscribers reaching 0. And with that, we see all of the similarities and differences of the share and shareReplay operators. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like. And to stay updated on the latest content from the RxJS workshop, please subscribe to the channel. Do you want to learn more about the RxJS library and many of its features? Please check out my course on the Udemy platform. It's called RxJS Subjects and Operators, What They Do and When to Use Them. You can find the course by clicking on this link on the channel page. Thanks again for tuning in to the RxJS workshop.